Hey guys, I don't want to be a smartass, but I'm going to have to step up and say a little bit of I told you so. Not because I think that I know everything, but because I'm not stupid. I mentioned to you guys that from the very beginning that I never felt like the corona situation was as bad as the media was making it out to be. Well, it turns out that even mainstream liberal media is starting to agree with that assessment. NPR just put out an article basically saying that antibody tests point to a lower death rate than for coronavirus than first thought. It says mounting evidence suggests that coronavirus is more common and less deadly than it appears. The evidence comes from tests that detect antibodies to the coronavirus in a person's blood rather than the virus itself. The tests are finding large numbers of people in the U.S. who were infected but never became seriously ill. And when these mild infections were included in coronavirus statistics, the virus appears less dangerous. Quote, the current best estimates for the infection fatality risk are between 0.5% and 1%, says Caitlin Rivers, an epidemiologist at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. Now let's talk about that, what that means. First of all, it's very, very hard to catch the virus. Only one in every 200 to 300 people catch the virus. So that means if there's 200 to 300 people in a room, one person's going to get it. And the person that gets it is usually going to be an old person or somebody in a nursing home or over the age of 70. Secondly, a 0.5% death rate or a 1% death rate means that if you have 100 people who were unlucky enough, these are lottery winners basically, like people who were unlucky enough to catch the virus, out of that 100, one of them is going to die. That one person most likely is going to be the 85-year-old in the nursing home who wasn't going to live that long anyway. It's not like you can talk about a 91-year-old as if that person has their whole life in front of them. People in that age demographic can die from a lot of different reasons. This is not me telling you that the virus was fake. It's not me telling you that that some of this isn't real. It's me telling you that you got to take time to look up the information for yourself and get information from different sources. Don't just run in your house and get scared just because they told you to do that. I mean, in fact, if you pay attention, a month ago they were telling you don't leave your house, and they were clowning the media, MSNBC, stuff like that. They were clowning people that got together in large groups. Now, with the protests, they're applauding people who are getting together in large groups. They're considering that to be a good thing. And so I'm not sitting here trying to say that it's not real. I'm saying that if it were super deadly, like if this virus were Ebola, there's no way on any level they would be applauding, tens of thousands of people getting together for a protest. They would say, no, protest on the internet, stay at home. This is not good. Now, let me read more. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. And put hashtag B1 in the chat. Let me know that you're Black First. B1 stands for Black First. It's very important because Black people don't have any allies. You got a lot of people out here claiming to be allies of Black people, and they're out here burning down buildings in your name, looting stores in your name. Pretty soon they'll be setting off bombs in your name, and you don't want that kind of heat. You're talking about National Guard, active duty military, all four branches on your ass, in addition to all the reserves coming in. There's about 1.3 million active duty soldiers in the United States. You don't want them running through your neighborhood with tanks and armored vehicles and machine guns. It's going to be ugly. But anyway, let me keep going. That's in contrast with death rates of 5% or more based on calculations that include only people who got sick enough to be diagnosed with tests. So they originally were saying that the death rate was 5%. It turns out that it's about 1/5 to 1/10 of that, right? So this was the original death rate estimate. It's actually way down here. And the revised estimates support an early prediction by Dr. Anthony Fauci. In an editorial published in late March, Fauci and colleagues wrote that the case fatality rate may be considerably less than 1%. I think the question that I would always ask, and I've been asked this from the beginning, is this. If you remember, in the very beginning, they were predicting 2 million people were going to die. Because they predicted 2 million people were going to die, 38 million people lost their jobs, and many of them were okay with that because they thought 2 million people were going to die. Instead of 2 million people dying, 100,000 people died. That's a big number, but it's only 5% of the original estimate. So the question I would ask you is, feel free to answer in the chat, is if they had said in the beginning that we think 100,000 people are going to die, would 38 million people have been okay losing their jobs because of 100,000? 38 million is here, 100,000 is here. The majority of this 100,000, about 2/3 to 3/4, are people that are over the age of 70. So maybe a better strategy would have been to quarantine the 70-year-olds, quarantine the 80-year-olds, instead of quarantining all of society and shutting everything down, because you're dealing with a lot of real weird issues, and I do think there's a higher agenda at play. Remember, I don't think it's a coincidence that all this social unrest occurred right on the heels of the virus. I think that it's all a coordinated strategy to bring down capitalism, to take down the state, to undermine the Trump presidency. I don't care what you think about Trump one way or the other one. I don't care. I care about you and your family. I don't really care about Trump. So the last piece I'll say here is they said the new evidence is coming from such places as Indiana, which completed the first phase of massive testing early in May. Indiana's program began soon after coronavirus cases began appearing in the state. The governor's office contacted Nir Menachemi, who chairs the Health Policy and Management Department at Indiana University's Richard M. Fairbanks School of Public Health. The government wanted basic information such as how many people had been infected and how many would die. At the time, it was really difficult to know for sure, and frankly, not just in our state, but any state. That was because health officials only knew about people who had been sick enough to get tested for the virus. So that's one of the factors that I factored in, because I'm a statistician, right? So I know these things, right? In the sense of that I'm not a doctor, but I talk to a ton of doctors, and I remember thinking, okay, so first of all, we're not really testing a lot of people. The only people getting tests typically are people that are sick enough to get a test. That means you're getting what they call selection bias in statistics. You're getting a sample that is not a random sample. It's a sample selected based on the fact that they were super duper sick. So I said clearly the infection rate is probably much higher than what they're saying. And if you look at any fraction, when they look at mortality rates, it's basically the number of people that died divided by the number of infected people. So as the denominator gets bigger, the whole fraction gets smaller. So basically, because you weren't factoring in all the infections in the original calculation, your calculations were wrong. They were dead wrong. They were ugly wrong. And this was something that I felt from the very beginning. Even when you talk about extreme cases like Italy, there are a lot of factors that played a part in Italy. Italy's population is super old. And then if you really want to go deep into possible, not conspiracy, but just the stuff that's not mainstream, a lot of people in Italy had received a particular vaccine. And there was a lady who used to work with Dr. Fauci who talked about that. She said in Italy, they received this particular vaccine, and that vaccine may have made them more vulnerable or more likely to test positive. I don't know. That part I don't know. I'm not going to get into that too much. I'm just going to say at the end of the day, in the very beginning, I've told you guys, I think you got to be really careful in this day and age. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of propaganda, a lot of manipulation taking place. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. I'm not even going to tell you what to think, because I'm not here to manipulate you. I'm just here to give you some more information you may want to consider as you think about what you want to do. But I'm reiterating over and over and over and over and over again, think for yourself. And I do that because I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to say, oh, Dr. Boyce is telling people to think this and think that. I don't do that. I need you to activate your own brain. And I can be an advisor, but I should not be the person telling you what to do. Okay, guys, so make sure that you're smart. Make sure that you understand, especially when you talk about the chaos that's going on right now. Make sure you put the black agenda, make that premier to the other agendas. You got the liberal agenda, the gay agenda, the feminist agenda, the climate change agenda, the Antifa agenda, the Democratic Socialist agenda. Put the black agenda at the top of that goddamn list. Excuse my French. Put the black agenda, B1, all the way, number one. I believe that the number one part of the black agenda that hopefully we can all agree on is freedom. Freedom means sovereignty and the ability to make our own decisions without interference from outside forces. Freedom might mean economic freedom, which means establishing an independent economic base that allows us to do the things that we want to do. You know, the people on the far left, they have an economic base. They got billionaires like George Soros paying the bills. The far right, they have an economic base. They got people like Donald Trump and the Koch brothers paying the bills. Black people, where's your economic base? Where's your economic base? Where's your economic base? That's where people like me come in. I'm a financial expert. I have a PhD in finance, and I'm telling you, the three areas I want you to focus on for yourself and your children, again, if you will hear me on this, is the three pillars of wealth: stock and bond investing, real estate investing, owning your neighborhoods, owning property, and then creating businesses. Small businesses create freedom. You can get off the corporate plantation. You're not working for white folks, and that way you're socially distancing yourself from white supremacy and from their racism and from their ridiculous behavior, because you have your own enclaves where you can do what you want to do as opposed to doing what somebody else wants you to do. So that's the agenda. The agenda for black people, in my opinion, is freedom. And if you can't agree with that, then you definitely need to unsubscribe from this channel, because I want you to be free. I want you to be free to do what you want to do. All right, guys, so I'm out of here. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock, I can teach you for free. Go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. Also, if you want to go check out some of the books that we have available that you'd like to buy, maybe Powernomics, stuff like that, you can actually go to drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. I'm out of here, guys. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.